Leroy. I got 3 words for you, dude. Scary fucking dairy. Send in every one of those New York Knicks fans home sad the hell out of the building today. Dude, I needed this win more than I think a finals win. And I know that may seem like loser regular season talk, but trust me when I tell you, when I saw all these Jalen Brunson jerseys, there were a lot of Knicks fans. When I saw all these Jalen Brunson jerseys circulating the arena, I don't. That doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that when it's Steph Curry. I don't like that when it's Giannis. But the thing is usually it's children, and it's just a sad lesson for the parents. I see these grown-ass adult Knicks fans, hairy arms. There was this one individual, basically looked like Sasquatch with a schmedium Jalen Brunson jersey on, and he wasn't even that close to me. He was, but it just was very noticeable immediately, sitting there press row, and Brunson hits a bucket to put them up 2-0, and this dude gets out of his seat and is like stomping his feet and fist pumping immediately. And that's when you realize the New York Knicks fan is basically like a toddler, because they tuckered themselves out. You know, they basically had energy for like 3 seconds. They, probably had seen, Miami life here, and they just couldn't handle it, or they've only been down here for a short period of time, but they just weren't about that life today in that building. And they watched their team, just really, really, really struggle today, especially their precious Jalen Brunson, who, he is adorable, because he's so tiny, but it's like he was in hell today, and that hell was courtesy of Haywood Highsmith. And you have this Tom Thibodeau after the game just be like, he's fouled, he's fouled, he's fouled, he's fouled, Doge Gibson, he's fouled, he's fouled, he's fouled, Doge Gibson, he's fouled. And I sat there with glee as I'm listening to this, and I'm just like, as I venture home and I have this long drive back from the Kaseya Center to my humble abode here, I tune in to Knicks Fan TV because, normally with Boston, I'd tune into like Boston Sports Radio. But, I don't think that this is going on at WFAN at this time. So I was listening to these two jackals go at it, and they're sitting there actually whining about the foul calls in this game, which I found openly hilarious, because I'm not against blaming a loss on officiating. Trust me, I'm not above that. But you got to have some evidence that presents your side. So when you sit here and you talk about Jalen Brunson, who stunk up the joint today, he's a very good player. He's got my respect. He's absolutely tremendous. Spo called him an MVP candidate before the game, and he was getting the MVP chance. And one of the things that I do despise the Knicks fan, but I do like how, because of where we are, being a very transitional town, and being the fact that we have people who move down here from all over the place. My family, originally from New York, comes down here. Thankfully, my grandfather blessed me with rooting for South Florida teams, as opposed to I would have ended up with a pit stain New York Mets jersey, Benny Agbayani or something like that, or a Latrell Sprewell. Life could have gone different for your boy, old Tobes, if the wrong part of the family tree grabbed me. Thankfully, Tom Boyle, may he rest in peace, he took me to Marlins games and Miami Arena and was a season ticket holder for the Dolphins. And, things turned out all right. But I do like that energy, because it is a very complex thing that is a dynamic down here in South Florida. But those Jalen Brunson MVP chants, it wakes up. And then Jimmy Butler got very strong MVP chants in his building. And so I like the energy that brings today. But anyway, getting back to Tweedledee and Tweedledum that I was watching on this show, they're sitting here and they're complaining about Jalen Brunson foul calls, as is their Very, very sweaty head coach. And I just have to laugh at it because, look, you could sit here and you could complain about the officiating, and maybe there were some missed calls here and there. Trust me when I tell you, Spo was not pleased about some certain things either. Like there was Jalen Brunson, throwing a clear out on Haywood Highsmith, and he got absolutely furious that they called it on his guy. It happens, man. The game, they are trying to make it more physical. But you can't honestly sit here in a game that, look, to the Knicks' credit, it looked like they were dead in the water, came back, tied it at 92 apiece. You can't sit back on a game and talk about Jalen Brunson getting hosed when he shot more free throws than anybody else in the game, and the New York Knicks and Miami Heat were dead ass even in free throw attempts. You just don't have the evidence backing you, dude. You don't. Like, if you want to sit there on a day where, like, man, even if it was even, but Jalen Brunson got screwed tonight, he only shot 3 free throws. Okay. But the idea that this guy gets double-digit attempts on a night where he was not shooting the ball well, and he does flop all over the place, and also, by the way, Haywood Highsmith had his ass in hell, then, bring better arguments to the court. But at this time, case dismissed, Bobo from the Bronx. Now, the other thing, speaking of hell and scary hours, scary f***ing Terry, dude. This man was an absolute assassin today for your Miami Heat. And for him to go out there, make the buckets that he made today, 34 points, 8 of 11 from downtown today. Just an absolute sniper. And some of the buckets that he was hitting, difficult shots, man. This is what the Miami Heat have been looking for alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo for a long time. A guy who can bail them out, a guy who can get tough buckets, an offensively minded individual first. Look, to any of you idiots who do dwell onto this, much like what Jalen Brunson brings to the New York Knicks. And scary Terry, man, this last couple of weeks, this dude is on an absolute tear. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. He is hitting just absolute gems out of the gym. And the Miami Heat, quite frankly, look, the pressure was on them in this game. I'm not going to mince words. When it got tied at 92, and the Miami Heat cheeks were very squeaky. The Knicks locked down tough. They forced a shot clock violation, and you had the ball in Bam and Jimmy's hands, and neither one of them wanted to do anything with it. And Haywood Highsmith raised his hand, and he was like, you know what? I'll hit this three, because this dude is not only locking up your MVP candidate, New York, but he's also shooting the mother bleeping lights out. And he hits that three to give the Miami Heat a little bit of relief and makes that game at that point 95-92. He just kind of felt like, all right. That dude packed his guts to that game, Haywood Highsmith. He was absolutely awesome. Then he goes back. He puts Jalen Brunson back into the lock box. He's like, you're not doing anything here. Then Terry Rozier goes to the bucket. Bam Adebayo. He gets himself a putback. Rozier then forces a turnover on Brunson. Jimmy Butler finally awakes offensively. Jimmy Butler had such a very, very strange game today. Not a good game shooting from the field, but I thought it was interesting. I thought Jimmy Butler dictated this game early on. The ball movement was so crisp for Miami. He was finding shooters. Him and Nikola Jovic just was doing a great job of just having the ball find energy. We're absolutely doing a fantastic job of that. But man, Jimmy got to the free throw line 6 times tonight. It's near his average. It's not awful, so I don't think that it was all the way out. He does definitely seem to have his eyes light up when he has Josh Hart on him. We know what that menace did. And by the way, these Knicks fans who are putting pathetic montages together of Bam Adebayo trying to hurt our team. Ooh. God, you guys sound so damn soft. It's embarrassing. Now, that being said, Josh Hart is a menace and needs to be stopped. But yeah, Jimmy we're just looking at you and you're sitting here, and the Miami Heat, the one thing is sometimes with the Heat stars, Jimmy, man, they make things so complex. Because look, with the New York Knicks, to their respect, when they are struggling, they know who the ball is going to go to. And even in this situation, the Miami Heat were just absolutely rudderless in that fourth quarter. And I was like, why the hell has Terry Rozier not gotten the ball? Because there was a point where they kept giving the ball to Duncan Robinson to hit a three. Then Duncan Robinson had a ball go off his thigh. And I love dunks. Duncan Robinson has arguably been the third best player on the Heat. But at that point, it's got to go to one of your two main dudes, or it has to go to Terry Rozier, who's having the game of his life. And thankfully, they put it in Terry Rozier's hands, and he was just unfriggin' believable. So the Miami Heat, about a minute and a half left. Caleb Martin fouls Dante DiVincenzo, who was absolutely monster today for them. Bam Adebayo after that, he comes back. Caleb Martin nearly loses the ball. They call it a kickball. Shot clock that he can wind it down. Goes to a Bam bucket. Puts the Heat up 7. They're in a really good spot. Jalen Brunson gets one more to basically give the Knicks a little bit of life. And Terry Rozier said there will be none of that today. And he sends everybody in orange and blue home sad. And yeah, after the game, Tom Thibodeau's sitting here and he's talking about, oh, no calls on Jalen Brunson. Boo friggin' who. What a delight. I love the fact that that they can sit here and they can go 3 straight losses for them. It's tough. Hey, listen, I'm sure you guys will get it together. I will say, as an aside, man, my favorite thing to do after Knicks Heat games is go to Ben Stiller's Twitter because, look, he's very hardcore, very clearly. For a man who is of that fame and stature and made that many great movies, to be into that every Knicks game like that. And he does seem to have a little extra edge against Miami. He does seem to hate it. And he's whining about the foul calls. It brings true delight to my face. I'm very, very happy about it. I really am. So the Heat win 109-99. They improved to 42-33 on the season. So the Heat clinched themselves a winning record. As far as the standings tonight, really they keep Philly at bay. Philly got Joel Embiid back tonight. He'll be in the building on Thursday. We'll be boots on the ground for that one. The Heat, they get to within a half game of Indiana. Now, Indiana's got some games against Brooklyn. Maybe there can be a misstep there, but this is the problem when you don't take care of your own business early. But look, Miami's 42-33. They're only 2 back in the loss column of the 4-5 with 7 games to go. It's not if Miami can get on. I've been saying this. If Miami can get themselves on a run, they're 1 now. If they can have themselves a 3-1 week or my God, a 4-0 week, man, Miami could be really sitting pretty by the end of this thing, especially with the opponents they got to take on with Philadelphia. Yes, getting a jolt with Joel Embiid back, but it is him just coming back, and Miami has had their success against the Sixers always. So I'm very much looking forward to that matchup. And then they got Indiana later on in the week. So nice one tonight. Needed this one with that rat infestation that was in the building tonight. But thankfully, Terry Rozier, he was having none of that. Great performance by him. And truly, truly a delightful night at the Heat's house.